Hey everybody, 3Gun Smitty here with Jack Tactical Precision Rifles. Today we're going to talk about upgrades. Last time we talked about getting into 3-gun and that you don't necessarily need upgrades, which I still stand by that. You don't need them. It will help you get better, but if you're like me, you just want to try and get the upper hand as much as possible, whether it be, your trigger, your sights, your grips, your ammo, whatever. Always trying to get an upper hand against some of these guys who've been shooting forever. So upgrades aren't a bad thing, but if you don't have a lot of money, I wouldn't jump into it. Learn what you get, learn what you need, and get what you need only. So, but this time we're going to talk about things that I think, again, this is my opinion, you don't have to do the same thing, that you should get for your guns. Right up from one down to whatever. So, least to most, or most to least, excuse me. So, let's talk about my gun. Alright, I'm going to use mine as an example, so if I'm throwing it around, mind me. So, unloaded. Alright, so nobody have a shit fit over me playing with the gun and have a beer. Alright, so, as far as one of the first things to do to upgrade your gun is, I would put a new trigger on it. Right off the bat. Mil-spec's great. It'll work for you your first year, whatever. But I would go and get yourself a good trigger. Something light. It'll help you shoot a lot faster, especially when you're at targets that are like 3.5 feet away from you and you can just point at it and shoot it as fast as possible and move on to the next target. It'll also help with better trigger control as well. Real light. You're not squeezing real hard. Throw your shot off, whatever. Especially for far shots. So you should definitely try and get a better trigger. There's a million companies that make triggers. You got AR Gold, you got Hyperfire, you have Geissele, CMC, and PC Armament. As far as if cheap trigger goes, triggers really aren't that cheap. So it's going to be kind of an expensive upgrade for sure. But it would definitely be the first upgrade I would do. I have a Hyperfire 24 3G trigger. It's a trigger literally meant for 3-gun. It comes with springs from 2.5 to 4.5 pounds. I have the 2.5 pound springs on it, and it's like nothing. And you can clearly see the difference between a Hyperfire and mil-spec right here. Okay, so you see the difference between those two? It's crazy. So, I would definitely jump on a trigger first. That'll be one of the first and best things I would get in on as far as if you really need to upgrade your stuff. So, as far as your AR goes, same with your pistol. I run a Smith & Wesson. I love Smith & Wessons, but their triggers suck like something fierce. So I would definitely go find yourself an Apex trigger, drop it in, quick and easy. As far as the cheap trigger goes for ARs, in my Adams arm, I ran a PC Armament competition 3.5 pound trigger, single stage. It was a great trigger for $135. You couldn't beat it. Super cheap, beating everybody else out in the market. And it was easy. I mean, it took longer to get the mil-spec trigger out than it was to drop the PC Armament trigger in. It's just a cassette, 2 pins, and they got this like special locking system. Keeps the pins from walking out when you're shooting. So, yeah, I would definitely look into that. PC Armament, they're pretty good company. I always like their stuff, and they do everything themselves. So it's a good company. And then for my next upgrade would be a good optic. You definitely want a good optic. I mean, a trigger and a good optic, those two. I mean, obviously you're going to need an optic for your gun. For 3-gun, obviously. So you can run iron sights if you want to. You can run an optic. I don't know how good your eyes are, so it just depends on that. So I would get yourself a decent optic because you are going to be taking your gun and dropping it and throwing it, and I mean you're not tossing it and stuff like that, but you're dropping it on tables, and you're going like this, and then you want a good optic that's going to hold zero if you throw it into a bucket or you drop it on a dump table or something like that. On top of that, you're going to be traveling a lot when it comes to going to 3-gun, so you definitely don't want a piece of crap optic. And honestly, I have a Leapers UTG 3 to 9 by 32 scope. It is a great scope for the price. I mean, you can get this scope, the same exact scope, for like 129 bucks, something like that. So it's real cheap, and I've never had a problem with it. Every 3 or 4 competitions, I'll go to the range and I'll go re-sight it in, make sure everything's good from banging around and training and all that. And it's not more than a half an inch off at 50 yards, and that's great. So I've never had a problem with it. So I would definitely look into getting a good optic, and Leapers UTG is they definitely make quality stuff for a good price, so you can't beat that. As far as stock and grip, I mean, those are kind of like last resort. Those are up to you, however you want your grip. A rail, I would get a low profile rail if it was me, something light, something skinny, real thin. This one's real thin. It's a Leapers UTG low profile rail. And I like grabbing real far up when I'm shooting, so this is perfect. I'd wrap around and it's great. And then I would suggest getting, if you're going to run a scope like I am, I added these things. I forget what they're called. They're like break off. If you type in scope throw in Amazon, they come up. They're just like little twisty ties that are the clamps. Instead of spending $90 on a metal scope throw because it says Vector, something like that, you can get these little plastic things. I haven't had to move them, and they're real easy. If you're out far and then you come up on close, you can just boom, boom, and then just move to a closer target. But then I also got these Magpul backup pro offset iron sights. So if I'm shooting kind of far out, I can just turn my gun, and that's it. And then I'm right there, everything close, ba-ba, ba-ba. Just kind of like for purposes or stages like this. Just like that. That is when these come into handy, real close targets. So, I would suggest definitely getting something for close quarter targets, something along those lines. And then if you run, I don't know how you run your scope. If you run your scope like I do, I run mine kind of far back. I don't run my stock real far, so my scope's kind of far back, and I ain't trying to get hit in the face with that. So I would suggest getting an extended charging handle for your charging handle. I run in a Veltor BCM Gunfighter extended ambidextrous extended charging handle. I was at Cabela's the one day, and I found like this extended lever for like $11, and you can use your mil-spec charging handle. You just knock out the spring pin, and then you got yourself a nice little extended charging handle. So if you want to go cheap, I mean, I don't even know how much this one was. So, but I would suggest definitely getting yourself an extended charging handle for sure. That'll make it so you don't miss it, because the mil-spec charging handle is kind of small, kind of rounded, so you can miss it, and that time you don't want that time. So another thing I would suggest getting, if you want to work on the reloads, get a faster reload. If you don't even want to worry about your reloads when it comes to an AR, get yourself a Magpul battery assist device. I know a couple different companies make battery assist device. It's this little lever right here. It attaches right to the ping pong paddle or the bolt release and the bolt catch, right? So works same way. It just screws right around that, clamps to it. So it wraps around into the trigger well here. So all you got to do is, when I got the bolt open here, so all you got to do is when you put a mag in, take that, and you're ready to go. Bang. That's it. No sitting there fumbling trying to hit the ping pong paddle. Just smash that, and you're ready to rock. Gassed up, ready to go. So you definitely, I would suggest doing that. And then when you start getting real into 3-gun, you start getting real specific about your gun, that's when I would move to different things, a different grip, a different stock, like the CTR locking stock. I talked about it last time. With when you pull it out, it's kind of wiggly, but you just clamp that down, and it's nice and tight on the gun. So it's a real nice stock. I like that. Especially when you're shooting distance, you don't got to wiggle on you at all, so it's nice and tight, ready to go. I also have a Seekins Precision adjustable gas block, and that's real nice for tuning your gun perfect to rounds. But when you get something like that, you know, stick with a certain round. That way you're not changing up velocities and all that, you know, and things run a little different. I just recently put in a 4.8 ounce buffer weight. All these things that I'm talking about right now really lower recoil, which, I mean, felt recoil in an AR really isn't that much, but when we're trying to do follow-up shots, because in the scoring system in 3-gun, it's 2 shots anywhere. So you want to be, you know, in a fairly small group. Targets ain't huge, so you know, when you're doing follow-up shots and you're trying to do them as quick as possible, you don't want a lot of felt recoil. And so I would suggest eventually getting into an adjustable gas block. I'll make a video one day about how to tune those. They're pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. Open, close. You know, figure out what your gun likes. So, and then a muzzle brake. You know, you got to tune your gun to your muzzle brake as well. So, like I said, that's farther down the road. When you start getting deep into 3-gun, if you really like it, if you don't like it, this is why I say don't dump a bunch of money into this. If you don't really like the sport, you don't really have the time to go and shoot it every weekend or whatever. If you're just doing it for fun, I wouldn't go dump a bunch of money into it. You know, I'm trying to get all pro and famous in this, so, you know, I dumped a bunch of money into this. And, you know, Jack Tactical gave me a huge break by giving me this sponsorship in this rifle. And couldn't thank them enough. The guys are great. And so, I mean, as far as the rifle upgrades go, that's probably how I would do it. Pistol, I run a Smith & Wesson Performance Center ported gun. It's a great gun. I like it. Like I said, the trigger sucks, so I'm working on getting a trigger kit put in that, or for that. I just got a lighter recoil spring so I can change the loads on the pistol, shoot a lighter load, 9mm round. So felt recoil and keeping it flat is real nice. So waiting on those. And then for my shotgun, I haven't had to do anything to my shotgun except I added a magazine tube extension to it. And that, I think those are like $50 or $60, something like that. They might even be cheaper than that. So there's Jack Tactical surprised me with that one. So like I said, the Stoeger M3K comes right out of the box, ready to go. 3-gun, ready. They took the M3000, gave it to a couple people like Jesse Tischhauser, and told him to run the M3000, give us some feedback on how you make it into a 3-gun shotgun, and then that's what they came out with. They came out with the M3K, extended charging handle, extended bolt release. You know, it's got that inertia-driven system, so it's a real reliable shotgun, so it's good stuff. So I definitely go and get yourself a extended magazine tube so you can hold as many rounds as you can, because reloading a shotgun is super crappy. It sucks. But anyway, if you have any questions, anything else you need to know about upgrades, let me know. And if you guys have any ideas on videos you want me to do, also, you know, hit that, you know, leave me a comment, hit me a like, give me a dislike. Let me hear what you guys think. I know my camera demeanor is not the greatest, so I'm working on it. But please give me some feedback. If you can, like, subscribe, follow 3gun_Smitty on Instagram. I don't really do Facebook. If you can find me on there, you know, it's Joshua Smith. So, but definitely, yeah. If you can give me a like, a subscribe, that would be great, guys. I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the video and plenty more to come.